Hi, everybody. It's time to read Chapter 2 of Shiloh. Hopefully, you enjoyed Chapter 1 and you got a chance to answer some of those questions about what kind of person you think Marty is and how you think he feels about animals and those types of things. So, Chapter 1, just a quick review. Marty goes for a walk after dinner on Sunday afternoon. He finds out that there's a dog that's wandering around out in the woods by the river by itself, and he doesn't know who the dog belongs to. And the dog follows him home, and he thinks that the dog might have been abused or kicked or beaten and not treated well. Tells his dad about it. His dad said he thinks he knows who the dog belongs to, and that probably needs to be taken back. Chapter 2. Let's pick up and see what happens with Marty and the dog. Sunday night supper is whatever's left from noon. If nothing's left over, Ma takes cold cornmeal mush, fries up big slabs, and we eat it with Caro syrup. But this night there's still rabbit. I don't want any, but I know Shiloh does. I wonder how long I can keep pushing that piece of rabbit around my plate. Not very long, I discover. You gonna eat that meat? Or are you just playing with it? Dad asks. You don't want it. I'll take it for lunch tomorrow. I'll eat it, I'll say. Don't you be giving it to that dog, Ma says. I take a tiny bite. What's the doggy gonna eat then? Asked Becky. She's 3, which is 4 years younger than Dara Lynn. Nothing here. That's what, says Ma. Becky and Dara Lynn look at Dad. Now I had them feeling sorry for the beagle, too. Sometimes girl children can get what they want easier than I do. But not this time. Dog's going right back across the river when we get through eating, says Dad. If that's Judd's new dog, he probably don't have sense enough yet to find his way home. We'll put him in the Jeep and drive him on over. Don't know what else I figured Dad to say. Do I really think he's going to tell me to wait till morning? If the beagle's still there, we can keep him? I try all kinds of ways to figure out how I could get that rabbit meat off my plate and into my pocket, but Ma's watching every move I make. So I excuse myself and go outside and over to the chicken coop. It's off toward the back where Ma can't see. We keep 3 hens, and I take one of the 2 eggs that was in the nest, and I carry it out there behind the bushes. I whistle softly. Shiloh comes loping toward me. I crack the egg and I empty it out into my hands. Hold my hands down low and Shiloh eats the egg, licking my hands clean afterward, then curling his tongue down between my fingers to get every little bit. Good boy, Shiloh, I whisper, and I stroke him all over. I hear the back screen door slam, and Dad comes out on a stoop. Marty? Yeah? I go around, Shiloh at my heels. Let's take that dog on home now. Dad goes over and opens the door of the Jeep. Shiloh puts his tail between his legs and just stands there. So I go around to the other side, get in, and I whistle. Shiloh leaps up onto my lap, but he don't look too happy about it. For the first time, I have my arms around him. He feels warm, and when I stroke him, I can feel places on his body where he has ticks. Dog has ticks, I tell my dad. Judd'll take them off, Dad says. But what if you don't? It's his concern, Marty, not yours. It's not your dog. You keep to your own business. I press myself back against the seat as we start down the bumpy dirt driveway toward the road. I want to be a vet someday, I tell my dad. He says. I want to be a traveling vet, the kind that has his office in a van and goes around to people's homes. Don't make folks come to him. Read about it in the magazine at school. You know what you have to do to be a vet? Dad asks. Got to go to school. I know that. You got to have a college training. Like a doctor almost. Takes a lot of money to go to veterinary school. My dream sort of leaks out like water in a paper bag. I could be a veterinarian's helper, I suggest, my second choice. You maybe could, says Dad, and points the Jeep up the road into the hills. Dusk is settling in now. Still warm, though. A warm July night. Trees look dark against a red sky. Lights coming on in a house here, another one there. I'm thinking how in any one of these houses there's probably somebody who would take better care of just Shiloh than Judd Travers would. And how come this dog had to be his? The reason I don't like Judd Travers is a whole lot of reasons. Not the least is that I was in the corner store once down in Friendly when I saw Judd cheat Mr. Wallace at the cash register. Judd gives the man a 10 and gets him to talking. Then when Mr. Wallace gives him the change, he says he gave him a 20. I blink, like I can't believe Judd done that. And old Mr. Wallace is all confused. So I say, "No, I think you give him a 10. Judd glares at me, whips out his wallet, and waves a $20 bill in front of my eyes. "Whose picture's on this bill, boy?" he says. "I don't know." He gives me a look. "I thought so. That's Andrew Jackson," he says. "I had 2 of them in the wallet when I walked in here, and now I only got 1. This here man's got the other, and I want my change." Mr. Wallace, he's so flustered he just digs in his money drawer and gives Judd change for a 20. And afterward I thought of what did Andrew Jackson have to do with it anyway? Judd's so fast talking, he can get away with anything. Don't know anybody who likes him much, but around here folks keep to their own business, like Dad says. In Tyler County, that's important. Way it's always been, anyhow. Another reason I don't like Judd Travers is he spits tobacco out the corner of his mouth. And if he don't like you, and he sure don't like me, he sees just how close he can spit to where you're standing. Third reason I don't like him is because he was at the fairgrounds last year, same day we were. And seemed like every place I was, he was in front of me, blocking my view. Standing in front of me at the mud bog, sitting in front of me at the tractor pull, and rising up out of his seat at the Jordan Globe of Death motorcycle act so as I missed the best part. Fourth reason I don't like him is because he kills deer out of season. He says he don't, but I seen him once just about dusk with a young buck strapped over the front of his truck. He tells me the buck run out in front of him on the road and he accidentally run over it, but I saw the bullet hole myself. And if he got caught, he'd have to pay $200, more than he's got in a bank, I'll bet. We're in Shiloh now. Dad's crossing the bridge by the old abandoned grist mill, turning at the boarded up school, and for the first time I can feel Shiloh's body begin to shake. He's trembling all over. I swallow. Try to say something to my dad and have to swallow again. How do you go about reporting someone who don't take care of his dog right? I asked finally. "What you fixin' to report, Marty?" "Judd, if this dog's mistreated, he's only one out of about 50,000 animals, that is," Dad says. "Folks even bring him up here in the hills and let him out. Figure they can live on rats and rabbits. Wouldn't be the first dog that wasn't treated right." "But this one had come to me for help," I insist. "Knew why he was following me. I got hooked on him, Dad, and I want to know that he's been treated right." For the first time I can tell Dad's getting impatient with me. "Now you get that out your mind, and out of your head right now. If it's Travers' dog, it's no mind of ours how he treats it." "What if it was a child?" I ask him, getting too smart for my own good. "If some kid was shaking like this dog's shaking, you wouldn't feel no pull for keeping an eye on him?" "Marty," Dad says, and now his voice is just plumb tired. "This here's a dog, not a child. And it's not our dog. I want you to quit going on about it now, hear?" I shut up then. I let my hands run over Shiloh's body, like maybe everywhere I can touch I could protect him somehow. We're getting closer to the trailer, where Judd lives with his other dogs, and they're already barking up a storm, hearing Dad's Jeep coming up the road. Dad pulls over. "You want to let him out?" he says. I shake my head. I'm not letting him out here till I know for sure he belongs to Judd. I'm asking for a slap in the face, but Dad don't say anything. Just gets out and goes up on the boards Judd has laid out to the place in place of a sidewalk. Judd's at the door of his trailer already in his undershirt peering out. "Looks like Ray Preston," he says through the screen. "How you doing, Judd?" Judd comes out on the little porch that he's built at the side of his trailer, and they stand there and talk a while. Up here in the hills, you hardly ever get right down to business. First you say your howdies, and then you talk about anything else but what you come for. And finally, when the mosquitoes start to bite, you say what's on your mind. But you always edge into it, not to offend. I can hear little bits and pieces floating out over the yard. The rain, the truck, the tomatoes, the price of gasoline. And all the while Shiloh lays low in my lap, his tail between his legs, shaking like a window blind in the breeze. And then the awful words. "Say, Judd, my boy is up here along the river this afternoon, and a beagle followed him home. Don't have any tags on his collar, but I'm remembering you got yourself another hunting dog and wondered if he might be yours." I'm thinking this is a bad mistake. Maybe it just isn't Judd's at all, and he's such a liar. He'd say it was, just to get himself another animal to be mean to. Judd hardly lets him finish. Starts off across the muddy yard in his boots. "Sure as hell bet it is," he says. "Can't keep that coon dog home to save my soul. Every time I take him hunting, he runs off before I'm through. I've been out all day with the dogs, and they all come back but him." I can hear Judd's heavy footsteps coming around the side of the Jeep, and I can smell his chewing tobacco as strong as coffee. "Yep," he says, thrusting his face in the window. "That's him, all right." He opens the door. "Get on down here," he says, and before I can even give the dog one last pat, Shiloh leaps off my lap onto the ground and connects with Judd's right foot. He yelps and runs off behind the trailer, tail tucked down, belly to the ground. All Judd's other dogs are chained out back and bark like crazy. I jump out of the Jeep too. "Please don't kick him like that," I say. "Some dogs just like to run." "He's all over creation," Judd says. I can tell he's studying me in the dark, trying to figure out what's it to me. "I'll keep an eye out for him," I say. "Anytime I see him away from home, I'll bring him back, I promise. Just please don't kick him." Judd only growls. "Could have been a fine hunting dog, but he tries my patience. I leave him be today. Tonight he wanders off again. I'll whoop the daylights out of him, I guarantee you that." I swallow, and all the way home I can't speak a word for trying to hold back the tears. Okay, chapter 2. Tough situation, isn't it? So what would you do if you were the little boy, if you were Marty, and you knew this dog was being whipped and beaten by this man who didn't treat his dogs right? What would you do? Is it your place to do something about it or not? Big question.